Thank you for the warm welcome, and thanks for sharing your time today. In the advertising business, we're used to a lot of jargon. The marketing speak that, when you boil it down, doesn't mean a whole lot. That's why, for today, I want to skip the marketing speak and talk about what matters to people now. These times have compelled us to think more deeply about the big picture and reconnect with the things we truly care about. So it's no surprise that a lot of people around the world are seeking more meaningful experiences and choosing brands that support their values. So today, I want to talk to you about social values. Social values represent a person's priorities and motivations and shape their lifestyle choices and aspirations for the future. These strongly held beliefs also impact consumers' brand preferences. To better understand this, Amazon Ads commissioned a survey of nearly 3,000 consumers across North America and Europe. Our goal was to help our advertising customers connect with consumers by better understanding their social values. The survey findings have big implications for businesses of all sizes. For example, one important takeaway was that brands who lead with their social values and convictions can have a greater impact with consumers. More than half of US consumers said they're more likely to buy from a brand that's willing to take a stand on social issues. And the numbers were even higher in Europe and Mexico. On a personal level, I'm one of those consumers myself. I've made many shifts at home to support brands that align with my values, especially in the past couple of years. My wife Kirsten and I are increasingly aware of our environmental impact. We make a concerted effort to walk more and to recycle and reuse. And when we choose brands, we choose ones that are creating sustainable products and are prioritizing the environment in their business practices. Oftentimes, our Amazon cart is filled with products that have a Climate Pledge Friendly certification, which we know come from brands aligned with our values. And lucky for us, we have a socially conscious daughter who keeps us well informed, with only the occasional snarky comment of which brands support a sustainable future. In this way, my family is like millions of families. That's because people around the world are concerned about the future, and rightfully so. They're experiencing the impact of climate change, monitoring their health and safety, and joining social justice movements to improve society as a whole. In the consumer world, these concerns are playing out with more mindful purchasing. People are expecting more than just quality products at affordable prices. They expect companies to do their part in improving the world. In our research, we found that nearly 90% of all consumers surveyed think that more brands should do their part in helping the world. And a key social issue across the board is unsurprisingly the environment. A majority of consumers in the US and Europe said they were tired of brands acting like they were exempt from environmental responsibility. And 66% of consumers actively seek out brands that are sustainable in their business practices, while 61% are willing to pay more for environmentally safe products. What these stats mean is that consumers aren't asking. They're demanding that brands act responsibly, whether it's sourcing, supply chains, packaging, or recycling. Today's shoppers are looking to support brands that are committed to reducing their environmental impact. We all play an important part when it comes to addressing climate change and protecting our planet. At Amazon, we strive to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. And in service to our planet and our customers everywhere, we're committed to and invested in sustainability because it's a win all around. That's why we're working to do our part at Amazon. The Climate Pledge, for one, is Amazon's commitment to be net zero carbon by 2040. But we didn't stop with ourselves. We've encouraged other brands to join us and have to date collected more than 200 signatories, including brands like Salesforce, HP, and P&G. We're also committed to sustainable operations and improving packaging with recyclable materials that minimizes waste and ensures damage-free delivery. We're on a path to powering our operations with 100% renewable energy by 2025, and this is just the beginning. Our social values research reminded us that eco-conscious consumers value transparency and details into how brands are making a positive impact. One brand that understands this well is Seventh Generation, using its Amazon store as a place to provide details about its eco-friendly products. The brand has been leveraging Amazon and our Climate Pledge Friendly program to share their brand mission to create a healthier, more sustainable, and equitable world for generations to come. With Amazon ads, Seventh Generation is able to reach and engage customers through Amazon.com, Fresh, Whole Foods, and our physical stores. To date, Seventh Generation has obtained the Climate Pledge Friendly badge on more than 55 products on Amazon.com. The brand is developing a separate tab on its store to highlight these products, and it has a dedicated section about its zero packaging, zero plastic packaging, and related products. This approach is delivering results for the brand with higher click-through rates and new-to-brand purchases. Sustainability is a key issue of our time and will likely continue to be. So, it's no wonder that consumers care about it, myself included. But of course, there are other pressing issues today that are important to consumers and brands alike. These social values have the power to build brand loyalty and connection. For brands, this means going beyond talking the talk to walking the walk. It means taking action. We've all faced a lot of disruption lately. But your brand values should remain constant, acting as a guiding force to help you make the best decisions for your customers and your business. To continue this important conversation, Claire Paul, the Global Head of Marketing and Training at Amazon Ads, is sitting down with Amy Ginsberg, the Chief Investment Officer at Havas Media Group, to talk about the connection between social values, relevance, and authenticity today. Over to Claire and Amy.
Thanks, Alan. I wish we could all be together in person, but I suppose it's fitting for IAB Disruption that disruption has become the norm. Nevertheless, I'm excited to be here at the Amazon Live Studios in New York with Amy. As Alan mentioned, Amy serves as the Chief Investment Officer at Havas Media Group, where she's part of the North American leadership team. There, she oversees the overall media investment vision and strategy. She has an extensive agency background. She previously served as the CIO at Canvas Worldwide. And before that, she spent over 7 years at IPG Media Brands Agency Initiative. Thanks for joining me today, Amy.
Thanks for having me, Claire. It's great to be here in person with you and virtually with everyone at home.
Well, it's great to have you. Okay, let's go ahead and dive right in. In your career, you've helped a lot of brands grow and navigate shifts in the industry. What was it that drew you into this business?
I mean, I wish I had this great, awesome story to tell you, but really it was by accident. I mean, I went to school at University of Buffalo, SUNY Buffalo, and I really wanted to be in sports production. I wanted to be a color commentator for the NHL. That was my dream job. But as I started to try and do all those things, I was like, well, I didn't even know what I was doing, and it was too hard. And so I started just taking any TV job. I'll take any job. And so I ended up at Turner Broadcasting, and the rest is history.
Awesome. I started my career journey in the agency world too. And I think it's interesting being at an agency because your customer is the brand. So you are often one step removed from the end customer. So how do you make sure that you are being customer-centric in your investments?
Well, my first foray into media, my manager gave me this awesome piece of advice that I'm 100% positive that he never thought about again, that he never even thought that would be impactful for anybody. He was just saying it in passing. He was like, you should always buy something before you sell it. And what he really meant by that was that as you're buying something, you have a very different experience as the buyer, and you're going through a different journey than if you're selling it. And I should really experience both sides because you get a really different perspective. And that couldn't have been more true. Even though it was a throwaway statement for him, it meant a ton to me. And, few weeks after that, I started looking for jobs on the agency side. And the rest is really history. I mean, I never left the agency side after I went there. So it was pretty awesome.
I agree, and I might steal that advice.
You
Pass
can.
it along if you don't mind.
No, please do.
It's so important to adopt a customer mindset and, if possible, play the part, so you can deeply understand their challenges and what's truly important to them. Speaking of challenges, in your view, what are the main challenges to brand growth today?
I think that's a really hard question, but one that I think I can answer in phases. And I think that the answer is that it's different for each brand, and every brand is at a different phase of their brand journey. And I think that, every brand has to do something different. But overall, the way we consume is rapidly changing. I think that was true even before the pandemic started. But then once we were in the pandemic, those changes were happening at a much quicker pace. And because things are changing so quickly, advertisers really need to look at that constant shifting landscape and fragmented landscape, and they need to change with it, but it's at the same pace, which I think is what some people are having difficulty with, because it's hard to change as fast as our landscape is changing, because it really didn't change for 50 years. And then all of a sudden, there's been this rapid change in the last 20 years.
I know I've certainly consumed more media since the pandemic started. Recently, I read a stat from eMarketer that said in 2020, US adults increased their time spent with media by nearly an hour per day. Even more surprising to me was the fact that the total time spent with media amounted to over 13 hours of a person's day on average, which is wild. But the silver lining here for brands is that there are more digital opportunities to reach consumers, but therein lies the challenge too.
Totally. And I think, way back, I'm not going to date myself, although I already am by saying the word TV, but way back, it was just linear TV, right? Not just, but you had print but you had linear TV. And then you can reach so many consumers at one time. If you wanted to reach and build your brand, you can reach millions of people by just airing a 15 or a 30-second spot. And today, brands just have a lot more that they have to do, because even though people still are watching TV, it's not dead, but a lot less people are watching at the same time. So you're not going to reach all those people. And people are doing different things while they're watching TV or while they're consuming any sort of media. You can be watching a TV, you have your tablet, you have your phone, you probably have many other devices on at the same time. And it's just on brands to figure out how to reach those people while they're distracted. And that's hard.
I want to touch on customer trust for a minute. The pandemic, with all of its ongoing challenges, has accelerated the erosion of trust around the world. But it's also created opportunities for brands to play a bigger role in society, as Alan shared earlier.
Absolutely. I think consumers have entered this age of cynicism, and the constant inundation of media doesn't really help. So every couple of years at Havas, we put together a meaningful brand study, and it asks what percentage of people wouldn't care if brands disappeared overnight. So it's a question. I'm sure you have something in your mind. I did not even think that the answer was going to be this high. And this year, that number is 75%.
Wow.
So 75% of consumers would not care if every brand went away. And that's a really scary stat, especially for what we do. So mistrust has really seeped into so many areas of our society and has begun to impact brand perception too. And as people look beyond as brands look beyond people's functional and personal needs, they start to get into that really sticky spot, because if they claim to deliver something, a change or something in people's lives, and they fall short, then that cynicism just deepens and it makes that rift even deeper. So the bright spot, though, is that we've seen a lot of brands step up and take on this challenge and be successful with it. And they're actively taking on those bigger roles in our society to contribute positively to the world and in ways that are authentic to their brands and their values.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen a lot of inspiring examples through some of the campaigns we've worked on with brands where they are raising money for important causes like fighting hunger or taking a strong stand on important social issues. And I want to talk about the conversation about authenticity, because I think that this is so important. It's funny because lately this topic has been coming up a lot in my home. I've been having conversations with my two daughters about what it means to be, true to themselves. And luckily they aren't old enough to be on social media.
That is lucky.
Almost, but not quite. But I know that day is coming, and I want to instill in them the confidence to be their, authentic selves and act in a way that is consistent with their values. But sometimes that's hard, especially when it differs from their peers. But more so lately, I've been thinking about how this conversation translates to brands too.
Yep, and it certainly does. I mean, those themes of being authentic and acting in a way that's consistent with your values absolutely applies to brands the same way that it would apply to people. And I think that if your brand really stands for something and people know that your brand stands for whatever that may be, then you need to try and attach yourselves to things that support whatever that cause is. But if you're just trying to attach your brand to a general cause or the cause of the moment that's trending, it's going to come across as inauthentic. And then you're really in a bad place because people know that your brand doesn't really care about whatever that is. And then they're not going to care about you. And talk is cheap for people. And you really have to, walk the walk and talk the talk. And if you want people to do something, you have to help them go and do that and show them why you're doing that and why you care about it. And it's obvious, but you have to really have that action or else you're kind of dead before you even start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what if you're a new brand that is just establishing itself and what you stand for?
Yeah, and I don't think every brand is at a different stage of their maturity. And I don't think you have to be a new brand or an old brand to be able to have a cause that people or be authentic. I think that you just have to make a decision of what your brand actually stands for and then stand for that and create that action that I just talked about where that people understand like, oh, they really do care about this cause. And every place that they are, like they're surrounding this cause. And so then people will start to care more about you because they know that you're being authentic and this is something you care about as a brand.
Walking the walk is definitely important, but you also have to be able to communicate your
Yes.
brand values and your messaging. And, so how can brands do this?
I mean, it's pretty simple that media and creative have to work together, right? So we know the audiences we're trying to reach. We know how to find them on the media side, and we can do that. But the creative has to match with that as well. And, you have to have a deeper understanding of your consumers and their wants, their needs, their values. From there, then we have to figure out that right message and the places to put the ads and regardless of the media types. But the creative has to be compelling and make sense wherever we place it. So, at Havas, we sit on the same floor as the creatives in most cases, and we're organized into villages, and that brings the creative and media together, which leads to more meaningful collaboration every single time, in my opinion, of course.
Well, I think that's, in my opinion, a smart way to operate. You need cross-functional collaboration to be agile and move quickly in today's ever-changing world. Well, we know as brands, you have your work cut out for you. But I truly believe if your values are your North Star and your brand is always authentic and true to those values, then creating connections with customers will happen much more easily. We appreciate your time today, Amy, and we're so happy to be part of this important conversation around brand values.
Thanks for having me.